In our striving for excellence as managers, we've covered how to organize ourselves, how to delegate to others, how to motivate, and how to communicate. All of these areas are interrelated, and constructive disciplining skills is no different. Constructive discipline requires self-organization. It's a way to follow up poor performance after you delegate. It's a motivational tool, and it's a specific type of communication.
I use discipline as positive motivating. People feel that you're cutting them down or that you're making fun of them. You're not going to get the proper results out of it.
If you check up on them and they do something wrong, if you don't let them know about it, you're not doing yourself or them a favor.
I usually take them off by themselves. I don't make them look like a fool in front of other people. It's between me and that individual, and we take care of it that way.
Now watch how effective and therefore constructive discipline can be when it's part of a sound management process. You're a really good technician. I mean, you're good with your hands, you're good at trimming and things like that, but you're not very good with dealing with customers. You don't greet them. As a matter of fact, you seem to have a tendency to even ignore them from time to time. When providing discipline, there are several guidelines to keep in mind. It's important not to overreact. Remember what we learned in the communicating skills module. Don't use an authoritarian, put-down attitude, because it will only bring out resistance and rebellion in your associate.
Len, the store manager just came up. Some lady's out there complaining and you walked away from her when she needed something.
I can't be two places at once. You wanted me to move this into the cooler.
Ah, for crying out... I told you, you gotta take care of the customers.
One thing to remember about constructive discipline is that while it's helpful to praise your associates in public, it's better not to criticize or discipline them in public. Humiliation is not a motivator and never leads to positive or changed behavior in the long run. Constructive discipline is a 6-step process. Let's look at it. Step 1. Clearly identify the problem that needs to be corrected, whether it's poor customer relations or poor performance in crisping or trimming or punching in someone else's time card. I got to tell you, Ross, we got a little bit of a problem. Look at this, for example, and this should have been taken care of a while ago. We've got all these crates piled up here. The knives are out on the counter, and frankly, today this was your responsibility. Be sure you have all your facts straight, and be sure they are facts, and not hearsay or somebody else's prejudiced interpretation of the facts.
We have to get rid of all these crates.
Yeah, well, I can see that you got a problem with it here. I'll talk to Ross next time I see him and see what he has to say about it, you know. I'll keep an eye out for it myself. Step 2. Communicate the problem to the associate and make sure that he or she hears what you've said and that they buy in or accept what you've said. I'd like you to go over one more time with me just what exactly it is we have to take care of here. What was it I said first? We got to...
yeah, you wanted me to put away the boxes.
Put away the boxes, yeah. Put away the boxes and
make sure I put the knives away.
Put the knives away and
just generally
keep the place clean. That's basically it. Then involve them by asking them why the problem exists and to come up with the solution for the problem. Step 3. Determine together what the solution is going to be and come up with the action steps necessary to ensure that solution. Let's see if we can come up with some solutions. What would you think would be a good idea to start with?
Well, I guess I should really clean up after myself as I go along.
Yep, you clean up as you go, and I would say that 30 minutes before the end of the shift, you need to clean up, rinse, sweep, and mop, and clean the knives and put them away. If the solution requires more than 2 steps or actions, develop a written action plan right on the spot. Be sure to write down all the steps that will be taken, from additional training, to another meeting, to a follow-up session. Use the technique of setting specific, measurable goals and deadlines when developing objectives with your associates. I think the best course of action is I'm going to stop by and see you every night, about 10 minutes before the end of the shift, see how things have gone and see if there's anything we can do to improve matters. Step 4. In as non-threatening a style as possible, but nevertheless being absolutely clear in your communication. Make sure that the associate understands what the consequences will be if improvement and the ultimate solution to the problem is not forthcoming. There are good parts and bad parts to every job. Cleanup may be a distasteful job, but if you can't do it, then we'll have to get someone else to do it. The prep man has to clean up after himself.
So just let me go back to the sales floor.
Well, I'm not having any problem with anybody on the sales floor, so I can't give you that job. Your only solution is to do the job right. And if you can't, then we may have to move you. I mean, maybe there's a position open on the grocery night shift. I can talk to the store manager about it.
Step 5. It's essential that you, as the supervisor, follow up to make sure that the problem is being corrected.
This is what we're talking about. You really got the idea now. Great. Keep up the good work.
Thanks.
Use praise as a motivator as you observe progress, as well as communicating your confidence and expectation that your associate will achieve the mutually agreed upon results. Step 6. If after time you observe that the deadline has not been met and no real progress has occurred, then this last and hopefully rarely used step must be taken: termination. Even here, don't overreact. Terminate the associate in an objective, caring, but clearly well-documented manner.
Now, we've talked on 3 separate occasions about this. We talked last Tuesday, a week ago Tuesday, and 2 weeks before that on a Wednesday. There's been no improvement in either your attitude or your performance. Now, I told you what would happen if things didn't change, and unfortunately, that's what we're going to have to take care of today.
It's not fair.
Yeah, well, what's not fair is that you're forcing the rest of us to do your work. Now, we'll give you a shot at the grocery night crew starting next Monday.
The way you give a person constructive discipline is just as important as the 6-step process. This style is especially critical in the way you state the person's problem. It can be a turnoff, or it can be an eye-opener, a door opener to that individual if you do it correctly. And obviously, if you mishandle the first step, you've minimized the effectiveness of the whole process. There are 6 considerations to giving constructive discipline effectively. 1. Establish a trusting and sharing relationship with the individual before the need for constructive discipline. 2. Couch your statement of the problem in constructive rather than destructive terms. Here's how not to do it.
You guys are pigs! Pigs! Look at this place! Slobs!
Here's a better way.
If this area isn't kept clean, we can get contamination back here that we can actually be passing on to the customer through the produce. And that's the kind of problem that we really don't need, you know? Plus the fact that just keeping it better organized back here helps everybody. And we really have to try to help each other out. That's just part of being part of the team here.
Well, I suppose I try to set a good example because I wouldn't want to be cleaning after anyone new.
That's it. I mean, you don't want to be cleaning up after anybody, and they don't want to be cleaning up after you.
3. Give behavioral examples of what you mean. Don't analyze the person by playing amateur psychiatrist, and don't make authoritarian pronouncements and judgments either. Just communicate your perceptions, talking about how you see it and how the person comes across to you. Here's the wrong way.
Len, since when have you had this fixation complex that expresses itself in this need to mutilate and over-trim the celery and all the salad greens?
4. Be as specific as you can. Give concrete examples. Don't generalize. Not this way.
Len, how can you work with this mess around here? Look at this. Why don't you get rid of this stuff first so it's not in your way? You don't have this problem.
Try this way.
This should have been taken care of a while ago. We've got all these crates piled up here. The knives are out on the counter. And frankly, today this was your responsibility. You were the one who's supposed to be taking care of this, and it's still pretty much the way it was. So I'd appreciate it if you could take a look at the problem and see what you can do about clearing it up.
5. Be timely. Don't wait too long to provide the constructive discipline. The person won't remember the behavior and will feel that the problem has a low priority with you.
Len, what are you doing there? You can't use this kind of knife. Come on, I've been watching you do this for 3 months now. You can't use this knife.
I've been working here for 3 months, and this is the first time you ever said I couldn't use a knife like that.
6. Help your associate receive the constructive discipline accurately. Let him or her tell you what you just told them. Talk it through until you're sure that they have heard everything you want them to hear. If they get combative, stay objective.
It's not my job. I don't need to clean all this crap up. I'm gonna go talk to the produce specialist. Get someone else to do your dirty work.
Now listen, Ross, like I tried to explain to you before, there are good parts and bad parts to every job. Now, cleaning up is part of your job. It's part of everybody's job here.
If they get defensive and try to either rationalize or give excuses for their behavior, be patient and try rephrasing the problem differently.
I just don't have the time. You want me to be productive, don't you?
Well, yeah, but there's plenty of time if you just clean as you go along.
But don't give up or go on to the next step of coming up with mutual solutions until they acknowledge the problem. It's a companion technique to praise, and when done consistently and correctly, it's one of the most powerful motivators you can use.